I think it's very easy when you're first getting into anime to get disillusioned by the seasonal charts. I don't think that's necessarily exclusive to just anime, as I think everyone has their modern pop music sucks phase, but this is an anime channel, so that's what I'm gonna focus on. I think people tend to have this very condensed view of history. When you first enter a hobby, you've got years of history to catch up on, and lose a sense of scale in the process. You don't think too much about how summer 2000 only had 7 new anime releases, because why should you? However, without that context, it's easy to look at the seasonal rat race and get a little bitter, as entire seasons can go by without some genre-defining masterpiece that will change your life for the better. In that regard, the seasonal chart can feel a little bit like a toxic relationship, but that grind always makes it all the more satisfying when you do find that true gem of a series and can watch history be made in real time. Wait, is this what it's like to follow a professional sports team? Oh god. If you squint hard enough, that same mentality can also apply to digging through the backlog to find what you might have overlooked. It's dirty, largely unrewarding, and tedious, but finding those diamonds in the rough really makes it all the more worth it. To enable my obsession with strip mining anime series, I've employed the random anime generator once again to spit out 3 more anime for me to inspect and see if after 3 episodes I want to send them back to the facility to be fully processed. At least, I think that's how this metaphor goes. No limits on genre, age, or quality here, so indulge me for the next 10 or so minutes and we'll see what comes out the other end. If I won't do it, then who will? Remakes are a bit weird when you think about it. I mean, for a lot of publishers, you've got this whole backlog of content that you're just sitting on from years past, that are more than likely not making you much money collecting dust. Considering how fast trends in anime have evolved, you can't always just re-release an old anime and expect it to print money, so a remake is a solid method to hopefully reinvigorate interest in your IP and get those money printers printing again. From a more artistic perspective, remakes also give you the opportunity to theoretically reevaluate an old IP or adaptation and give it the glow up you think it always deserved. Most of the time, it is about the money though. Released in 2023, Akuma-kun is a horror mystery series based as a sort of pseudo readaptation of the manga by the same name. Akuma-kun came from the mind of the late Shigeru Mizuki, most famous for his work on Gegege no Kitaro, and was first published way back in 1963. The story follows the titular supernatural investigator and his half-demon partner Mephisto II as they go around solving a variety of supernatural incidents. The series ran on and off across 3 mangas from 1963 to 1971, and had a previous anime adaptation in 1989 which ran for 42 episodes. While Mizuki and his works aren't well known in the West, they would be a massive cultural force in Japan, where they're largely credited for reinvigorating interest among the public in Japanese folklore and yokai. Yeah, this is the guy to thank for everything from Spirited Away to Pokemon. Mizuki tragically passed away in 2015, but the story of his works wouldn't end there. In 2018, his most popular series, Gegege no Kitaro, received a brand new anime adaptation to celebrate the 50th anniversary of its original anime from 1968, which ran for 97 episodes, finishing in early 2020. About a year after that, in 2021, it was announced that his other manga, Akuma-kun, would be getting a similar treatment to celebrate what would have been Mizuki's 100th birthday. 2 years later, on November 9th, 2023, said series would release to the world on Netflix. Akuma-kun 2023 follows the same general structure as the original series, but is more of a pseudo-sequel than direct remake. The series follows the adoptive son of the original Akuma-kun, Ichiro Umeregi, who follows in his father's footsteps alongside Mephisto III, the son of the original Mephisto II, in solving supernatural mysteries around his hometown. Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Akuma-kun 2023 is surprisingly good actually. The format is a little dated, as evident by being very similar to another show I covered earlier in this series, but Akuma-kun flaunts its qualities to show why it is the OG. The characters are pretty fun, with Ichiro and Mephisto III's eccentricities balancing each other out. Ichiro is a bit bad with social cues and can be a little abrasive to some of his clients, but Mephisto holds things together by being the straight man of the group who can come in clutch in a pinch with his demon powers to clean up case. The two work really well together, helped further by strong character designs across the board and a plot that can get surprisingly dark at times. Mizuki was known for blending his goofier designs with some pretty serious subject matters, and Akuma-kun 2023 continues that trend quite faithfully. The art is also equally as impressive as the writing. The heavy black shadows and desaturated colors really help to sell the tone of the piece, and the backgrounds are absolutely gorgeous. Background art really seems like a dying art in anime these days, but Akuma-kun somehow has these intricate and well-structured backgrounds that are genuinely some of the best I've seen in recent memory. The biggest issue that Akuma-kun 2023 faces is that it does feel, a bit dated. Even with all its modernizations, the format is still rather played out and feels unlikely to build to any meaningful development or conclusion, as is the case with these kinds of shows. Likewise, the designs are not going to click for some people. The very goofy designs made a lot more sense for a work that came out in the 60s, before anime and manga were really well known for more serious kinds of stories. However, with as much progress as both mediums have made, they're definitely not designs that are going to connect with newer audiences who might prefer their anime to go all in on their darker components. Still, for what it is, Akuma-kun 2023 seems about as put together as one can expect, and it certainly brought my attention to a side of anime history that goes largely uncredited in the Western fandom. Seems like a pretty easy decision to me. I think the thing that irks me the most about shonen discourse is that the people engaging with it usually don't have the best of reference points. Like shit, I would love to live in a world where Demon Slayer was the standard for unwatchable garbage, but alas, I do not, and instead have to settle with it being the standard for somewhat watchable popcorn entertainment. You watch only the good stuff, and it makes the process of making anime look super easy, but get bored and decide to branch outside the curated best of lists, and things start to get funky. Back Arrow is a 2021 fantasy mech series produced by Studio Volm. The series follows the inhabitants of Lingaland, a fantasy world surrounded by a mysterious unscalable wall. The people of this land have gotten used to their confinement and the mysterious rakuho gifted to them on occasion by the wall. One day, however, their whole existence is turned upside down when one of these rakuho brings to them a firebrand amnesiac who remembers nothing except his desire to scale the wall and return to where he originated. Thus, a group forms to follow the strange man who calls himself Back Arrow and take on the wall and power structures of the land that they have long taken for granted. Also, there's mechs because, of course, why wouldn't there be? Back Arrow is such a strange show. It jumps at you from the get-go, going a mile a minute with the kind of erratic energy that wouldn't feel out of place in the mid-2000s. It's very similar to Concrete Revolution from a couple episodes back, for how much shit it throws at the wall to see what sticks, and it almost works. The mechs do have themselves pretty lively designs, which matches the energy our enigmatic protagonist also brings to the table. He's the kind of guy to tell you to believe in the me that believes in you, and that is certainly endearing in its own right. Also, there's mechs, and mechs are cool, and there's another point in its favor. But like I mentioned back when I talked about Concrete Revolution, though, this kind of no fucks given writing does have its drawbacks, and they become quickly apparent in Back Arrow. The show is unfortunately not exactly all that self-aware of its circumstances, which does matter when everything else is so painfully discordant. The show's pace never bothers to let up and give you time to breathe, leading to a ton of overstimulation as its incohesive designs and character writing start to clash in all the wrong ways. Every character feels like a walking gimmick, and their dialogue is fairly annoying, leading to a show that ultimately wants to be a lot more stupid fun than it actually is. For everything I've said about it, it still kinda wants to be a somewhat serious story, and so also misses the ball on being so absolutely out there with its delivery that it circles back into being entertaining, akin to something like Brave Bang Bravern. Nothing feels like it really comes together here, and at a hefty 2-core runtime, that becomes a pretty big ask. There is mechs though, and mechs are pretty cool. I think the jury is still out on whether harem comedies or isekai are a worse blight on the history of anime. I'm the last person to throw isekai a bone after subjecting myself to so much of what the genre doesn't have to offer, but saying it's worse than harem anime? I'll have to think about that one. I think people do give isekai a lot more shit than it necessarily deserves, just because of how oversaturated the genre is and how tired everything feels at this point, but I also think time has softened our opinion of the genre that preceded it. Harem comedies definitely have a few standout entries over the years that have enough fun with the concepts to be entertaining, but I think the bar for the genre is way lower than people give it credit for, and maybe that's a good thing. Hensuki, Are You Willing to Fall in Love with a Pervert as Long as She's a Cutie is the exact kind of show that the title makes it out to be. Released in 2019, the story follows high schooler Keiki Kiryu. Keiki is a member of the school's calligraphy club, where he surrounded himself with an entourage of cute, eligible girls. One day, after cleaning up a giant mess in the club room, Keiki discovers a love letter addressed to him alongside a pair of the senator's panties. This seems wonderful to the forever bitchless Keiki, except the letter does not say who it is from, and he now must carefully navigate this precarious situation to figure out which of the hot girls in his immediate circle were the sender. Somehow, it only gets worse from there. If I can give Hensuki credit for anything, it's that it is total slop and absolutely knows it. You're watching Hensuki for one thing and one thing only, and that's to be a total unabashed degenerate. I guess I'm one to talk since here I am watching it too, but in my defense, okay, I've got nothing. From the generic MC to the cast of varied girls, the show is not afraid of what it is and hooks you in knowing that you're going to watch all of this, if only to see how the total dumpster fire of a premise plays itself out. The absolute worst thing the show can be is boring, and it will absolutely take that to heart, as it is constantly subjecting you to an increasing rabbit hole of degeneracy surrounding Keiki and his seemingly innocent classmates. All walls of public decency break down, and you're left wondering what series of events brought you, the viewer, to the point in your life where this is what you've decided to spend your day watching. Hensuki is utter garbage, and hey, maybe I'm just the raccoon. But no, yeah, Hensuki is, by any objective standard, a steaming pile of dog shit, and that is the appeal. Our mystery plot quickly unravels a growing cast of girls so degenerate as to match any goon master blow for blow, with art layered with enough filters to feel sensual and slightly nauseating, without needing to concern itself with an actual budget. Whether it's the sadist who wants to enslave Keiki or the masochist who wants him to treat her like a dog, while there is some entertainment in seeing the shit Keiki finds himself in, the novelty wears thin eventually, and the post-nut clarity comes far too early. You'll have to sit there staring at your screen as the rest of the episodes play out, then you look down like Shinji Ikari and remark how much of a terrible person you are. It's a perfect mix of pure degenerate and overly saccharine, and a veiled attempt to be sweet to make up for the experience, and certainly one that I wouldn't want to share with anyone else. It's a dumpster fire, but I mean, it's a glorious one at that. It's gotta be worth something. It seems like we've been getting a lot of remakes these days, and while they aren't all exactly knockout hits, Akuma-kun does seem to have won the adaptation lottery, and with that, they've made for a very easy watch to completion. The art direction is just exquisite, and the way it balances the legacy of the original with doing its own thing makes for quite the fun time that goes down like butter. I appreciate how much it tied everything together, both narratively and meta-narratively, bringing the relationship between the old and new Akuma-kuns to the forefront, leading to about as satisfying a conclusion as one can hope from for this kind of show. Sets the bar really high for the kinds of shows I dig up for this series, and it's going to be really hard to beat on that front. Back Arrow comes out swinging with a ton of ideas, but unfortunately, like me with baseball, fails to make them stick in a cohesive fashion, and thus finds itself as the newest add to the drop list. It really could use a little time to hone in on what it wants to be exactly, and give the audience some time to breathe in order to take everything in, since as is, it barely feels deserving of 12 episodes worth of my time, let alone a whole 24. They can't all be winners, but sometimes those losses can sting more than others. Slop is as slop does, and Hensuki has that in spades. The frantic, deranged plot beats are pretty much par for the course for the genre, and one can't help but feel like it's close to critical mass with how bizarre things are getting. All that being said, I couldn't bring myself to finish it. It seems like an okay show to bring some friends together and watch just to laugh at, but as a solo viewing experience, it falls more into being horny than funny, and so I didn't see much reason to continue with it. Such is the life of slop. With that, we yet again reach the end of the video. Time's running down on the end of the year, though I'm hoping to get at least one more video out before the ball drops. Not sure if it'll be out before Christmas, or if this video will be out before Christmas as of recording, but such is life when I only have so many opportunities to record scripts. If you're still here, let me know what your thoughts on the series I discussed here today are in the comments below, and I hope that I helped you to narrow down your planning list. If you like what you saw and you want to see more like it, leave a like and subscribe for the next video in the series, or head over to the playlist and catch up on any previous episodes you might have missed. You can follow me on the sites shown here for more content from me, and until next time, remember to stay salty.